Hey, look what we have found. A big sound in a small town. Far away from the bright lights. They're making music every night. Discover what is all around. A big sound. A big sound. In a small town. Big sound, small town. A really big sound. Big sound, small town.
You're listening to Big Sound Small Town with Sandy Carlton.
All right, my name is Mike Dew. I am currently the host of Saturday Night House Party on WNCW. I've also worked in some other radio stations around the area, WGWG, or used to record a little show and send over them. And then the good old Gaston College.
Yes.
Part of their crew for about 6 years as well.
You know, all three of those radio stations had a big impact on my life, to tell you the truth. And you've had blues shows, you've had,
mainly blues.
Yeah, mostly, yeah.
I stray off into, for me, there's some lines there, but they're not there.
I understand.
I mean, if you just kind of think about music, and we're sitting here at a bluegrass festival.
Sure.
But if you think about Charlie Patton, and Maybelle Carter, and Bill Monroe, and you think about their music, maybe the chord structure is a little different, the instrumentation might be a little different, but it's human condition. And
it is.
They sing about happy things, sad
Sure.
things, celebration.
They do.
All that. So I try not to draw too many lines.
Well, I grew up in a place where the only radio station I could pick up was a station out of Memphis.
Yeah.
And when I was growing up, I wanted to be, more than anything, a blues player. I didn't know those guys were black even. I had no idea. And then I'd listen to the Grand Ole Opry and hear D. Ford Bailey. So that was a harmonica, and I thought, that stuff's pretty cool. And so I thought I was either going to be Tarzan or a blues player the rest of my life, so.
Yeah, I grew up in Memphis. And
oh, really?
All my family still lives in Memphis. I make one or two trips a year.
Sure.
Down, and you're talking about the Grand Ole Opry, and I had the pleasure of knowing some of the older blues guys, Furry Lewis, and Johnny Shines, and those old blues players, all of them, when they were still, in Mississippi, and we're talking about way, way, way back. They all listened to Grand Ole Opry.
Yeah, they did.
And so their radio station was the Grand Ole Opry, or whoever had a tower within the 10 miles of their house was about it. So there's just so much crossover in the music.
There is. I mean, I grew up, and sure enough, I got to be a blues player. But then, I played a lot of bluegrass too. So, and it kind of works over. I mean, I'm still doing a blues thing with a guy named Phil Ruff. Do you know Phil?
Yeah, I know the name. I don't
know
Phil
and I do something called Blue Healers, which basically what we do is Cephas and Wiggins, Brownie McGee, Sonny Terry. We do a lot of the Piedmont blues, But I played the electric blues stuff. I mean, that is one of the things about your shows is you get a whole cross section. You do the Chicago, you do the Memphis, Hill Country,
It's kind of like a lot of people say, and they say the same thing about bluegrass, I think, too. But in blues, I know they say it a lot. People that don't know the music, they'll say, well, all that sounds the same. And I go, bullshit.
Yeah, I agree.
Give me an hour. I'll show you
exactly
how different it is.
Yeah.
Because there's a tremendous amount of difference between more modern players like Otis Taylor, who does the trance-style blues.
Sure.
And you've got R.L. Burnside and all the Hill Country guys, and then what Pat Possum did with, with the remixes and stuff like that. Then Chicago sound, which is, everybody says it's still raw blues, but it's a lot slicker than what.
It's a lot slicker than. I agree.
So there's just so many different styles that if you do it right, nobody's going to get bored.
Well,
you're not going to hear the same thing.
Well, I grew up a harmonica player. I played a lot of harmonica in my life, but that's, you talk to blues, harmonicas are totally different in different styles. I mean, you think it's a 10-hole instrument.
Yeah.
And you would think that it would be fairly limited. No, but it's not. There's a big difference between Chicago style and we'll even say hill country style, or even North Carolina Piedmont
Right,
style.
and you got Piedmont, which North Carolina is just such a huge,
Yeah.
huge history in blues and things across North Carolina and even South Carolina.
Yeah, South Carolina.
As well.
Pink Anderson.
Yeah, Pink Floyd as well.
Yeah,
Where the name
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So it's a wide range of music, a lot wider range of what a lot of people.
Yeah,
I
it
really
is.
like blues. Well, what about this television commercial with this song in it? Well, I love that song.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, you can even push Delbert McClinton
Delbert
into the
McClinton.
blues.
I love
I mean, they push him in the beach music field too, but it's no, I can't get that right now. So, how'd you get into radio?
That's a good question. And this is the honest to goodness truth. We were talking last night. We said, we'll make up some stuff once in a while. And
Yeah.
sprinkle a little truth.
Yeah.
This is 100% the truth. Used to go to the Double Door into
Sure.
10 years after and
Yeah.
to different clubs that had blues bands. When I first moved to North Carolina in 1992, I found the Double Door by getting the Charlotte paper.
Sure.
I'm flipping through and I see in the little entertainment section a woman named Joanna Connor out of Chicago. Fierce
Yeah,
slide
exactly.
guitar
Oh
player.
yeah, I agree.
And I already knew Joanna for a little while. I met her before I moved here, and I said, okay. And then I'm looking at the rest of the lineup, and they've got the Nighthawks, and they've
Sure.
got this one and that one. This is the place. So I go to the Double Door. So that became my second home, and got to know a lot of people in and around the music scene.
Yeah.
More so in Charlotte than anywhere else, but got to know those folks, and everybody kept bugging me, saying, hey, you should come do this. And at the time, Gaston College was still broadcasting out of a little closet.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And literally 1970s equipment, and had an antenna in the parking lot and all that before they did all the major upgrades. So they kept bugging me, and finally I just said, well, all right, I'll give it a try. I've never done it. And so I go in, hang out with my old buddy Randy Lowry, and for a couple of times, I guess, and kind of already knew a little bit about the boards and stuff,
Right.
but kind of got a feel for it. And Sarah Trexler was the station manager.
I remember when she was the station manager. Yeah.
Sarah, I love to death. So I go in to meet Sarah, and go in, and she talks to me, and she says, okay, so you want to do it? And I said, sure, I'll try it. Sounds like fun. She literally threw the station keys across the desk. Said, how about Thursday night? And this was like Monday or Tuesday. So I walk into a radio station, never ever having done this before in my entire
wow.
life, with the keys, and there's not another person anywhere. So I go in, and I've always been comfortable in front of people, or and talking in front of people and things like that. So I go in and I sit down in a room by myself, nobody else there. I've got to push that little red button. The first time, my hands were shaking so bad I couldn't hardly even hit the button. So that's how I kind of got started. It took a little while to get comfortable doing it. I found out real quick that planning out a show is not the way to go.
Well, I was wondering, when you were put in there for that first one, did you even have access to? Did you know what you could access?
I had the equipment was so old that they were using VCR tape with recorded music
Right, yeah,
on it
exactly.
as their automation system.
That's
So,
funny.
We had a very small handful of CDs. I mean, hardly any. I had a ton of them at home, so I would pretty well bring the music in. But I start writing out. Okay, I need 30 songs for this
Right.
3-hour show, or 36 songs, whatever the case may be. So I would write out every song, every artist, all this kind of stuff I was going to play them, and I would do that, and it would take me for a 3-hour show. It would probably take me 6 or 7 or 8
Yeah.
hours
Yeah,
to
I
put
mean,
it together.
Sure.
And then after I listened back to the first one, I'm going, that show really not very good.
Yeah.
So It didn't take long until I got comfortable, and it's funny, Madison and I were talking about this just earlier today. I go in now, I get there about 20 minutes before I go on air. I go in and I'll pull whatever I happen to be in the mood for. I'll
Right.
look through the CDs and just pull a stack of them out, and I'll get the first 2 songs that I want to open with. And that's as far ahead of as I am in a 4-hour show.
That's great, though.
And somebody calls in, and the audience is such a huge part of the show.
Sure.
Because somebody calls in and says, I want to hear R.L. Burnside.
Sure.
Then, okay, if I'm going to play R.L., I'm going to do this and this and this.
Oh yeah, you match. I've noticed that. If you're going to play him, you're going to match his music.
Match it up
Yeah.
with
Sure.
whoever.
I've noticed that. Yeah.
Same style. And on the other hand, I'll catch myself sometimes playing, getting into, because I kind of get into a groove with
Yeah.
it, and oh man, I like this song, this song, this song. And then about 4 or 5 in, I'm going, that's about plenty of guitar.
Sure.
Wide open
Right.
guitar tunes. So just try to mix it up and more or less kind of do what feels right.
So you really come in there and now and do your shows live?
Yeah.
That's
100%.
really good.
100% of them.
Really?
I might pre-record 2 shows a year, maybe.
Really? I did not realize that you did that.
The pre-recorded ones, for me, take the fun out of doing. For me, just kind of the interaction with people that call in,
Sure.
with requests, with getting into a certain mood because somebody calls for a request.
Right.
And I think, well, let me grab this song and maybe something I haven't heard in
Yeah, a while.
time. But the recording for me, the pre-recording, just kind of takes the fun out of it.
Yeah, I do
And,
understand that.
You're sitting in a room by yourself, and if you do mess something up, I got to go back and fix
Sure.
it. Where you do it live, it's out there.
It's out there,
Mess up,
and that's one of the things I very rarely edit my podcasts
Yeah.
because they're real. I feel it's really that way.
Yeah.
Yesterday I was doing Tony Trischka. His phone rang and it was Michael Cleveland. He said you can edit this if you want to. No, Michael Cleveland just called you in the middle of an interview. I'm not going to edit that.
Yeah, that's what gives it the realness and the flavor.
It does, and a lot of people don't understand that. You know, I had a kid come and did the show. His girlfriend dropped her phone. And it's just a little. He said, "You want to take that out?" I'm not taking that out. You know, she dropped her phone. You know,
We don't live in a vacuum. So
No.
Not the way we exist every
No.
day.
well, now, I can also believe your show's that way because it is one of my. It's my Saturday night. A lot of times, if I'm not playing music,
Yeah.
you know, I sit out and smoke a cigar and listen to your show, and I can see. I mean, I knew you did it live some, but I didn't know.
Yeah,
You know,
I do all of them.
I mean, you can feel that. I mean, you can feel it in the show.
Yeah. And unfortunately, sometimes you can feel when I've had a hard day at the day
Sure,
job.
I
and
do.
I'm worn out, and then they're, and I think that's with everybody. I think that's why I love music so much is if I'm having a rough time with something, then my show is going to be different.
Yeah, I agree.
If I go in and I'm just wide open, I've had 2 naps that day, and
Yeah.
when I'm wide open, the show's going to be different.
Right.
But I think you have to keep it different to keep people interested.
You do.
Keep yourself interested.
And you how many years have you done this now?
23 years.
Yeah, see, it's a long time. So you don't do it 23 years without having your finger on the pulse of what works, you know, and a love of it. I mean, obviously, you
Yeah,
can't.
I got that hook set in. You mentioned Burry Lewis a while back.
Yeah,
I was 12 or 13 maybe, and going through with my dad, mom and dad both, I don't remember exactly, but Burry was in a park in Memphis, just in a park playing by itself, and
that did it.
I was done. I mean, you grow up in Memphis, you grow up around a lot of, you hear that.
You do.
You hear the stack stuff, you hear the soul stuff, you hear the blues
Yeah.
stuff everywhere you go. But the first time I saw Burry Lewis, I was done.
See, that's great. I mean, and it's amazing how something like that, because there's a ton of blues players And it's funny for me being a harmonica guy. Everybody's a little Walter guy. But what really stuck for me was really Big Walter for some reason.
Yeah.
For some reason that hit me deeper than Little Walter. I don't know why it was. Probably not as good, technically.
Yeah.
But he was just, and I got to see him a couple times.
I never had a chance to see Walter.
He was he'd probably had too much to drink when I saw him.
Really not.
But
A blues guy?
I know. I word something that people had no idea of,
Yeah.
But it's I sought those guys out for a long time when I was young. It was like, well, I got to see these guys because they're old and they're not going to be around,
Yeah.
So I made pilgrimages to Memphis and stuff like that just so I could find Chicago, just so I could find these people and listen to them.
Yeah, and it's over the years, and honestly, I took it for granted. I was around a lot of stuff. My aunt, great aunt, actually worked for Rufus Thomas.
Oh yeah.
So I was kind of around music a lot, and at that time, back in, I guess it was around 1980, that Beale Street, they kind of cleaned it up a little bit and revitalized it.
Yeah.
It had gotten to the point to where it was not a place anybody wanted
Yeah,
to go.
I-
Pawn shops and
I agree.
boarded up things.
Sure.
So around around 1980, they had done a revitalization of it, and they reopened, and it was just, the people that hung out down there all the time were people like Albert King and of course Rufus Thomas
Sure.
and Little Milton and just so many great stars.
Yeah.
But you kind of, when you grow up around it, you don't really, it's just, there's Albert.
And
It just, it took me until the first time I moved away to realize maybe things aren't the same everywhere.
Yeah, and that's kind of bluegrass here.
Yeah.
Everybody's used to everybody, even if they don't really, it's not really their form of music, it touches everybody around
yeah.
in this area. They all know about it.
Oh, absolutely. And that's one of the reasons, like I said, I moved here in 92. And one of the biggest reasons that I'm still here is because of the musicians throughout this region.
That's
absolutely.
fabulous. It is. I've made a long podcast out of music people around here.
It's unreal. And one of the early local regional, two of them actually, just thinking about this, and Green Acres, and I actually lived, as the crow flies, probably not 6-7 miles
Sure.
from Green Acres. So once somebody convinced me it actually was a real place, it took a little bit of convincing.
Sure.
Yeah, there's this place out here. They got all these great bands. They've had Newgrass Revival, and they've had Alison Krauss, and
Right.
they've had this. And I said, oh, really? Yeah, I'd like to go out there. What's the name of it? Green Acres.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, Green Acres. And, I'm new to the
Right.
area, and I don't know anything about anything. And I said, oh, where is it? It's not too far from where you live. And I said, all right, where at? And Golden Valley. And I didn't even know where Golden Valley was at the time. So they're telling me there's a place called Green Acres in Golden Valley that Alison Krauss and Newgrass Revival played.
Sure.
And I'm going, I do not believe this. Till the first time I went out. And the first time I went out there, they were doing one of their pig picking.
Right. Niles pig picking. Yeah.
And the first person I saw play was Colonel Genie.
Yeah.
And I went, holy crap, these cats are good.
Yeah, they were.
Later that night, I saw David Childers. And I'm going, all right, I can do this, but the music and the musicians and all forms and styles of music around here. You got a guy like Rusty Barkley.
Sure, Rusty is fabulous.
Just fantastic guitar player. You had Robin Rogers, who was just amazing singer.
Robin is probably his final blues singer that came out of this area ever.
I completely agree.
She was fabulous.
Music hooked me here like it didn't hook me a couple other places
Yeah.
that I lived in. And really comfortable here, and then got into the radio stuff, which got me even deeper into the local regional music around here, and it's definitely home.
It's a good place. There's a lot of music here, and you can find, if you like music, you can find some music here you like. Yeah. I mean, no, that's in there though. So there you go. But you can. There's a lot of music, a lot of good musicians, and in a really small area.
Yeah.
I mean,
and then go down to Spartanburg. We Charlotte and Nashville and its whole music scene. You go to Spartanburg and you got Shane Pruitt.
Shane is wonderful. He's out playing with Marshall Tucker at the moment. You know, Shane's a great guy. I like him, and you know, they have a fabulous harmonica player down here named Freddie Vanderfall. Yeah, Freddie's he's good.
Yeah, I love Freddie, and he keeps trying to get me to come down to one of the pro wrestling.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Yeah, they do them on Saturday nights all the time. Kind of makes it hard.
Yeah, and I'd like to go, but I play music a lot of Saturday nights. But I'd like to go too. You know, Freddie says, I'm the best harmonica player in South Carolina, and he says, you're the best harmonica player in North Carolina. I said, well, no, I'm not. Well, he said, you're the best one I know. And it's like, well, I don't know. And I say, Freddie, am I as good as you? Oh no, you're not as good as I am, but you're good. You know, it's like so.
Yeah, great musicians, great people, and
they are
a true character.
Oh, they really are. And the Double Door years, since you were on a part of that was wonderful. I just had Kevin Marshall on the show, and Kevin built the guitar, you know, out of one of the tables, which for Double Door people is a super story. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of Double Door people, and Daniel Costin, you know Daniel, photographer? Yeah, Daniel. He's tried to document as much of that as he can, and I have a picture on my wall, and I asked him, I said, did you make this picture of me playing at the Double Door? He said, yeah, maybe. He went and dug through, and he come back, and he said, yep, here it is, you know, because he's got all that stuff, you know, so.
Yeah, I miss that place.
Oh.
You know, it's funny how you have places like that it's the music that starts it.
It is.
It becomes the community and the people that you know and the music community. And if something happens to the building, I mean,
it does.
Transforms.
It does.
The building. After the Double Door closed, some of the same people going to other quality names, but other venues in Charlotte, and
not the same.
It's not the same.
It's just not the same. It's just like Green Acres. You could not do that today. I hear people say, let's recreate it. You could not do that these days.
No way.
I mean, we got to have clear bags to come here, you know, and this is an easy place. Yeah. You could never do that these days. You couldn't recreate Green Acres, and probably not the Double Door.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, that is. Also, there was some rock and roll in there, no doubt, but it had a lot of blues, and I will tell you, the early part of Americana being started in North Carolina came right out of there. They had a Americana night in there on Tuesday, and I played in a band that played there. Michael Reno Harold was part of that. David Childers,
Lenny Federal.
Yeah, Lenny Federal, Bill Noonan, Lank Outsiders, Gigi Dover. You know, that was kind of the start of Americana in North Carolina.
All those folks are still out there.
They are, yeah, they are, which is really, really good.
Yeah.
You know, you see David. One of the things I like about David is he puts on his old man act, comes in there, acts like he's an old man, and then he rips. I mean, he is good. You know, he's an underrated songwriter that people don't really know. Kevin and I do a songwriting thing with him every once in a while, and he's good with his band. You know, and I played with one of his band members too. Well, Randy Saxon was kind of my guy. Then he went to David. You know, and David came to me one time and said, how'd you play with Randy? Randy won't be offended by this. And I said, you played with him longer than I did, you know. You tell me. So, and I'm playing with him again now. We do Handsome Johnny's, which is Dale Britton that was here.
Yeah, I saw you guys over in Shelby out on the square a couple months ago.
Yeah. We're doing that, and that's kind of a fun thing too.
Y'all doing the John Prine.
Yeah.
That's
what we're getting ready to do. We usually do John Prine, but we're getting ready to do a Cash Bash. We're going to be the Johnny Cash band this time. On the anniversary of his death, we're going to all do Johnny Cash songs, which is funny for us because I don't know that any of us even know any. Make it up on the spot. But if you do Johns, you can do a lot of different Johns.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah, you can do John Prine for a long time.
You could. Yep. So, you see an end in sight for your? Are you going to run this as long as you can?
Yeah, I am. I'm getting ready. Hopefully, this coming April to retire from the day job.
Oh well, yeah.
The radio thing is just, I still enjoy it. I have over the last, like I said, 23 years.
Yeah.
There have been times where I've got to go in and do a show on a Saturday when either I want to be out at some live event or I'm just tired
from the work.
Sure. And more than a few times I thought, well, I think I'm just going to wrap this thing up. And then I go in. And it seemed like no matter how bad the day's been, I go in, I pick out a few CDs, I sit down, nobody else there but me, and I start playing music I like, and then I get a couple of calls from people who want to hear other things, and shut the real world out for 4 hours, and it would cost you a lot of money as a psychiatrist.
I agree.
To get that kind of peace of mind, so no, I don't really have any intention of
It's like sometimes I dread driving to a music job. The whole day. Once you get on stage, it's okay. It's okay. And then when it's over, I'm back to I don't even know why I do this, But but I mean, it's what you do, I think. And I think once you're a music person, you're kind of screwed for life. Yeah. I mean, or blessed, whichever way. Music's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
and my poor wife, I drug her all over the country into hole in the wall juke joints and all kind of places that maybe weren't the most savory places.
Sure.
And all that to see music and the festivals. Our anniversary is September the 4th.
Okay. Well, yeah.
But we spent our first 2 or 3 anniversaries going to different festivals.
Sure.
And finally, one day about 15 years ago, she said, okay, I love going to these things. I've had a lot of fun. She doesn't have that infection that you can't get rid of.
Yeah.
With music, she loves music and all that. But she said, I've seen everything I need to see, and I'm not going. You keep going and do what you want to do.
Yeah.
I'm not going to another one. And she's lived up to her word.
Yeah, that's
I
good.
do that. There's no way.
That would be hard for me. I've retired from the music business like 6 times.
Yeah.
And it's like, it don't work. Also, I function fairly well among non-musical people, but I function much better with musicians, people that are music lovers, people that work in the music business. Yeah. It's just an understanding. Most of them are good people, I'll tell you that too.
Yes,
I mean, you get jerks, but you get jerks everywhere. And, most of them have a good sense of humor, know how to have fun, and
they'll try to help each other out.
They do.
Just about always.
And it's just I think people that do not have that are really missing the part. Although I always claim, say like your wife, I always say wives are musicians or music lovers, and sound men all get into heaven for free. If there's a heaven, then they all get in for the abuse they've had to take in this life. I mean, I might not be there, you might not be there, but they will be, because they've had to put up with that. But this is a cool interview. I'm liking this. It's been really good.
I had no idea after you told me your first question to Douglas. Douglas yesterday. Oh boy, let's see what the first one is.
Well, you know, it's
Hey, you know the thing, and this is accidental. Now I can promise you, this is an accident. I think we told the truth about every single thing we said for the last half hour.
I think we have.
That might be a record for me.
You can bring. Well, it might be for me too. Get Kevin Bridges in here. He'll tell you if I went 30 minutes, he won't believe a word. You know, but you know that's another thing too. Music, you acquire a lot of stories when you're around music. You meet a lot of people with a lot of stories, and as outside of music, collecting stories, people's stories and stuff is one of my big passions also. So that's why I like to do these things. You know,
Yeah, these things are great. I listen to them all the time.
Thank you.
Another blast.
well, I didn't know what I was doing. Had no idea, just like you did. It's worked now for a pretty good while, 5 years. So I'm pretty tickled with it for something I started late in life. So I do appreciate you come doing this. I've asked different people around, did they know you or know how to get in contact with you? Because guys like you are tougher to get in contact with than musicians. And I think it's because I'm on the right. Musicians are easy to get in touch with for me. I'll just tell another musician.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you who has been the two hardest people. You have been hard for me. I also had there was a local guy in Shelby that I was after for years and years and did not know how to get in touch with him. And then one day it just came that way. And the other is Brad Watson.
Brad?
Yeah, because Brad is he's like mysterious. I mean,
He is even around the station anymore. I see Brad once in a while when he's in doing some recording for his show, which is a fantastic.
it is a good show. Yes, it is.
Golfing show, which is.
Yep, it
great.
is. It is.
But yeah, Brad is a man of mystery.
Yeah, I agree. He's hard to get in contact. Joe swears he's going to hook me up. He thinks he's coming this week. I'll hook you up, but maybe not.
Yeah.
But that's the beautiful part of it. It gives me something to keep, trying to get a hold of. I'm pretty persistent, maybe pesky, because I think I drove these girls here crazy. It's like, can you get me so and so? I don't know, Sandy. I don't know if I can or not. So I went and asked them. I'll find them out here and ask them myself. Because if you don't ask, you don't get.
That's right.
So.
The worst thing that happens is nothing.
No, and no does not bother me. I've been told no so many times in my life. It's nothing.
Yeah, two things is being told no or just not being able to go somewhere. And my dad told me something when I was probably a kid. Is you can go anywhere you want as long as you act like you belong there.
This is true.
The absolute truth. I've walked into places. I've walked
Me too.
backstage areas or
Me too.
At sporting events at the areas and all
Yep.
that. Just walk like you speak to everybody as you're going in and walk.
You know who the best of it is around here? Steve Metcalf.
Oh, there's no doubt.
He is beside being the little king, he is the king of access.
Yeah. Yeah, the first person I saw today after I got here this morning to do some MC stuff on the main stage.
Right.
I had been here 5 minutes, and here comes Steve.
Probably backstage, up on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's the best. I learned that from him a long time ago. A long time ago, I was on his record label. He said, Sandy, you just go in. I said, don't you have to have a pass or something? He said, probably, but he said, you go in there and act like you know what you're doing. And if you know a name to drop, even if you don't really know them well, they'll just let you roll on.
One quick story.
Yeah, I love it.
Before we wrap this thing
All
up
right.
about acting like you belong there. This is probably, and this one I was, even to this day, I'm still kind of astonished that it actually worked. It was a total accident. Used to be a place called the Vapors in Memphis, and Jerry Lee Lewis used to do a charity show, big Christmas show. Actually, it was George Klein, Elvis's buddy, high school buddy, and the DJ and all that stuff. George Klein's the one that put it on. Jerry Lee played at it every year, and he'd have all kind of different people. And this particular year, Charlie Rich was there, Jerry Lee, a lot of other people. And Jerry Lee had been in the hospital one of the first 2 or 3 times that they announced he's not going to make it through the season.
Right, yeah.
And
Right, yeah.
2 weeks later,
Sure.
or a week later, he's bouncing back. Well, he had just gotten out of the hospital the day before. And he shows up. I'm going, and this is just a nightclub. You know, it's a fairly decent-sized nightclub, and it's back in the 60s and stuff like that. It was kind of really swanky kind of place. And I'm going, Dave used to have cigarette machines and all this.
Yeah.
I had to run out of cigarettes. So I asked the bartender, and I said, well, there's a cigarette machine right down the hall. Walk down the hall, and I'm getting a pack of cigarettes out, and at the door beside it opens up. And I just glance over, and there is Bill Medley,
Righteous Brothers.
and Charlie Rich, and Jerry Lee Lewis, and 5 or 6, 7 other people in there. And they had, you know, the hospitality room
Sure.
with food and drinks and all that. Door was open.
Walk right in.
What's the poor boy supposed to do? I walked straight through the door, walked in there, straight to the table, picked up a little sandwich,
Sure.
a little finger sandwich or something off of it, went over, poured a little bit of Jack Daniels on some ice, and sat down right next to Bill Medley and said, "How you doing?" And he said, "Good." And he said, "How are you?" I said, I'm great." And I sat there and talked with Bill Medley probably half an hour.
See, that's just
Just because the door was open, hey,
hey, that's
this might be interesting, let's go do this.
well, you know, that door opened for you for a reason, you know,
I didn't
and
get thrown out, and
yeah.
you know, chatting for a little while, and everybody's kind of moving and getting ready to play and stuff.
Well, I mean, I have gone in places and they have turned me around and sent me out too, but I wasn't in there anyway, so I mean, I lost nothing, you know. So, Mike, buddy, this has been great.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for taking the time and coming to do this.
Yeah, thanks for asking me up here.
All right, man, this is good.
Think about some stuff I hadn't thought that long.
That was good.